Hello guys, Lee here again. Today let's talk about the Megatron. What else to talk about? We posted a questionnaire regarding the kind of questions you want to know about it, and we have all this list here, and today we'll go through them one by one to answer the questions that you asked in our group. So let's start. So before we start, let's talk about the COVID situation in my city. Well, it's actually all over China. My city only have less than 50 open cases now, but the government decided to lock everybody in their estate, and I have been tested for 8 times. I mean, it's not a big deal. Just tell you why we are not working and apologize for all the inconvenience this might cause. And we expect to go back work in the next week. So I hope everything is smoothing out by then, so we can resume to our normal awesome operation and stuff. I guess I'm sorry to again for all the inconvenience, but don't worry. Well, the first and most asked question is, why can't we have variable gain settings? Well, my question for you is, why would we? When you do want to have variable gain setting, you have to accommodate for each state. So the state that you are actually trying to optimize will be in compromise, which we don't want that. And like, for instance, almost all of the professional recording device, the headphone jack, despite some of the premium one have 2, will have the same gain setting that you cannot change. That's why the legendary ER4 actually have a version that has a 75 ohm resistor built into the IEM, so they can work with professional recording gear. But you say, oh, why can we not to have something like the Mascobo 404 that can work with headphones and IEMs and has no background noise and being powerful, blah 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 blah? Well, I can tell you that device actually, we took one apart years ago, has a 100 ohm resistor built in. So if I want to make a device, I want to give you the option. If you want to, have a resistor, ohm adapter, you can choose to use them when you need them, not built in. So I think that way we have the most efficient, most powerful, and the best gear for our need, which is something that we set out we will do. Well, the second most asked question is how we can buy a Megatron. Before the pre-ordering finish, we have to finish those orders first, but now we do. We are gonna be selling them right after the whole COVID thing is over. So you can buy from all the platforms, and there are a few bundles you can choose from, and we'll talk more in the in the next video. The third question people ask is what the line out is designed for. Well, we designed the line out to make the Megatron more compatible with all the external devices. For instance, your headphone amp, your speaker power amp, and your PC multimedia speaker. And the PC multimedia speaker being the majority of people who are actually considering using with Megatron, they actually are probably all designed for 1 volt line out. So we have to limit it to be 1 volt, so that way everybody, all the devices happily working together. And that's why we designed this little thing, so you can switch back and forth between your speakers and the headphones. So I think it's pretty convenient. Well, the fourth question people asking about is the charging. Is it safe, and what it's actually designed for? So the Megatron is designed to withstand 20 volt 5 ampere charging. Well, to have 5 ampere, you do need a special cable. Our stock cable can provide you 65 volt charging continuously. And to have it, you basically need a compatible device, may that be your switch, your phone, or your laptop. And don't have to worry about if it's safe. The power delivery protocol is a very well solved and universal thing everybody's using. And our Megatron is designed again to provide you a continuous power solution that as long as it's under 20 volt. the fifth question is what the Megatron can be, compatible with. As you can see, that the Megatron is working with all your PC and gaming consoles OOB without any driver. But in the case of your phone, if you're using an iPhone, for being Apple, they actually definitely require special, adapters, which you all probably know by now. But in the case of Android, it's pretty complicated, but in principle, we do need to have the OTG support for your phone. Then your phone need to have a USB audio class driver built in. So if your phone can work with any dongle, then it's probably going to be working with Megatron. But there is one thing we need to consider, that some of the phones doesn't have enough juice to power the Megatron. Megatron require 150 milliampere for handshake, which is pretty low in current standard, but some of the device really just limiting the power output for whatever reason, so we need to be careful with that. The sixth question that people are asking for is kind of bizarre. They want to have a external volume control, because you do know that the amp is adjusting with potentiometer the input volume, the input line, the volume inside of the output volume. You cannot really adjust your output volume when you are using the amp, because when you do that, it's changing your system's, impedance on the go, and that's not something you want to have on any of the amps. So when you do have the volume control, what you do is you adjusting that volume from the input amp. And since Megatron is a USB DAC amp together, it's not likely, even do we make one, it's not likely that you can solder them yourself and stuff. It just really not needed. If you want to adjust volume, you can use Hi-B or use your app on your PC as well as your system volume together. The seventh question, I suspect that could be the first, but I guess not many people are actually interested. The seventh question that people is asking about, even despite I listed myself, is the hazing thing that some of the people is attacking us with. The whole background noise, as we have stated, the Megatron is designed for our own gear and the gear that actually share the same characteristic, which is high impedance, fairly low, sensitivity. So I think the goal was not to care about those, and you can actually limit the noise. There's a lot of technique. For instance, you can use the low powering design, but with low powering design, you won't be having all dynamic and sound stage that we do. Same thing as the external filter at output stage. If you do that, there's no musicality, because all detail is filtered along with the noise. So we, consciously designed the Megatron for our own need, and the noise is something that we have to live with, under the same kind of power restraint. Again, Megatron is only, around half watt the power consumption. So to work as a dongle, we do have to work with limited power, and to use the most of them, we do need to keep the whole thing as organic as possible. Well, the eighth question people is asking is, why can't it be a amp version? I'm pretty confused what's the question is. Megatron is great because it's a USB DAC amp, all in one system. You won't have a very good result with all the DAC section as well. Again, our DAC section is designed to be like a desktop one. Without the DAC, the amp is not gonna be as nice as it is, and the whole thing is designed as a system. So I don't understand why you want to have an amp. It's not like we don't have the runabout. Well, I'm sorry, we were not listing them. We'll be listing the final batch after the coming video. Well, the next question people asking about is why the Megatron sounds a lot louder than it is, on the PC than it is on the phones. I can say if you are using the Android, you are using Hi-B exclusive mode, then probably the volume are, both pretty high. But there are differences in terms of power supply. Your PC has higher voltage and higher current than most of the phones. At the same time, your PC have a different set of driver than your phone. So if you are using the PC, you want to adjust volume, you can use both the app and the system. As well as in the case of Android, you can use the volume control from High-B exclusive mode to give you more refined adjustment for the Megatron. Well, the last question is that, kind of bizarre. The Clansman is asking why the Megatron is now having good synergy with the Gen 2.0. Obviously, if I'm to agree with you, then I'll say, oh, the Megatron is definitely not as great as our D5. But considering the pricing, yeah, nobody else agree with you. So I guess you really just say we have to agree to disagree on this point, right? Well, lastly, I do want to mention another, opinion that I got from our friend. He said that he thinks the Megatron is not as good as something, certain thing that is Class D. So I figure, we have to be serious here. Our Megatron is designed with Class AB. The Class D is definitely more efficient. That's, without a question. But it comes with a cost of having a lot less finer detail and stuff. I agree that if you use planar, maybe that one is better. But if you are using dynamic, especially high impedance device, then our Megatron is with a Class AB design can provide you with way better details. But obviously, like he said, he's only saying that the Megatron will outperform in the high impedance category as well. But I just want to put it out there. If you are using planar and you want to use a dongle, probably maybe you want to use Class D. But for us, we don't really want to consider Class D at this kind of price range. Maybe lower price range, we'll consider Class D as a viable option, but not for this kind of price range. Well, I think this whole thing is pretty much all the questions I can gather from various groups, from various friends. I do want to say more here, but I think I'll keep it for the next video. In the next video, we'll explain to you what the master is designed for, what kind of combo we are giving, and what kind of crazy new portable device sources, DAC and amps we are coming out with. So I guess stay tuned for the next video. Bye bye.